Chumash and Rashi, Torah portion, Tetzaveh. It's the clothes that make the man. As we've been learning, we continue in the third reading. There we go. Almost. Oops. All right. We are chapter 28, verse 31. Now we're going to the robe, right, that's worn under the ephod. The ephod, we learned, right, is what holds, is the connector to the choshen, right, to the breastplate of judgment, as it's called. Now we go to the me'il. It's important that we know the Hebrew terms. Choshen, ephod, and now me'il. Asisis, a me'il, vesis a me'il, make the me'il, the robe, ha-ephod, of the ephod, meaning under the ephod, quilt cheles, entirely out of turquoise wool. Here's a picture of the meal. Let the Vita in, please. Thank you. Got it? So Rashi, oops. In 31, es me'il ha-ephod. So so Rashi is, it's a funny term, the me'il of the ephod, right? It sounds like they're one and the same thing, no? You follow? So Rashi said, ephod nasan olav l'chagura. The ephod, in the sense that the ephod is placed upon it as a belt. Aha. In other words, why does it say it in such a terminology? Because the me'il is a separate garment. Why are you saying it together, me'il ephod? They're not the same thing. They're two separate things. So the ephod is like a belt to the me'il, because the ephod is on top of it, so it serves like a belt, which is an interesting idea. Kalil techelis. Kalil means it's entirely techelis, turquoise wool. Kulay techelis, entirely turquoise wool. She'ein min achem uraboy. There's no other kind of material combined with it. Right. The other things you had turquoise, you had purple, you had linen. Right. In the other garments. What you call it? That's it. That's we're talking about the garment now. That the garment is only made from one thing, as opposed to the other what we learned were made of several different types. That's the point over there. Okay. V'haya, and it should be pi roishai. The pi means a mouth, right? The mouth roishai of its head, meaning the top of where you put your head in, right? That's called the head of the garment, right? Over here, this part over here that's saying Safa, it should have a Yelafiv Sabi Maise Ayrik Fi Sachra. So it's got to be, it has to have a fold inwards, Yelafiv Sabi Maise Ayrik, all around. In other words, it's got to be hemmed, right? And it must be a woven hem as a collar of a coat of mail. And it should not be torn. Yesterday, when we did the negative commandments of 365, this is one of the negative commandments in the Torah, which is interesting. Only the me'il, there's a negative commandment not to tear it, right? Which we won't go into that now, because that's not a question, Pshuta Shamikra. Okay, Rashi 32, Mahayapi Roishai, and the opening of the head shall be Pia Me'il Shebegoiva. This refers to the opening of the Me'il at the top. This is the opening of the collar, right? Like the T-shirt, the cutout of there, and that's what we're talking about. Within it should be understood Targum according to Unkelis's understanding. Kafil gave kofel. It should be folded inside, and others to make a hem. So that the fold should serve as a hem, and it's folded inside. And this is a work of a weaver, but not needlework. Interesting. You know, the whole, yeah. You would think that would be sewn, but no, it's not. It's a work of a weaver. Sachra, the opening of the suit of armor, Lamadnu Shahashi Roinim Shilahem PM Kofel. So we learn from here that their armor had a neck opening folded to their inside. Although not all suits of armor have a neckline of their collars folded inward, the Me'il did. Nonetheless, the Torah likens it to a suit of armor because it is similar to the armor that the Israelites wore in the desert. Another it's interesting, a suit of armor, and it's like a full robe, right? It's interesting. Yeah, you wouldn't think a suit of armor would be a full robe. You would think a suit of armor would be only like protecting the chest, right? Protecting the body itself, not the legs. A suit of armor they would wear in battle would protect the legs too. Yeah. Okay. Lo yikare, it should not be torn. So it should not be torn. The one who tears it transgresses a negative commandment. This is one of the negative commandments in Torah. Like we mentioned yesterday, we learned that in Rambam. Trying to remember which one it was. What number? I don't remember.
16.
Huh?
16.
What 16?
That was the number.
No, it wasn't. It was later on. No, it wasn't one of the first ones. So to them, when the verse says a cheshen should not be detached, also the verse says you should not remove from it. Regarding the poles of the ark, right? All those are negative commandments. Why Rashi has to mention this over here, I don't know. What brings Rashi to mention the fact that there are two other prohibitions that in reference to one, the choshen should not be detached. We learned that yesterday, remember? It has to remain attached to the ephod, right? Don't detach it. So that was yesterday. And now Rashi's been reading from last week's Torah portion that the poles to the ark also should not be removed, right? But what brings Rashi here to state this? What's it got to do with the simple meaning of the text? That you're bothered over here, that you need this explanation or comparison. I don't know. You follow my question? Okay, good. Okay, 33. Nasi says, Shulav. Now we talked about the higher hem. Don't tear it. Now we're talking about the lower hem. Asisa, you should do is shulav. Shulav means the lower hem. Rimoine tcheles. You should make pomegranates that are from turquoise. The argaman and also purple. We'll say la shani and scarlet wool. Shani. We'll say la shani al shulav. And it should be all around, saviv, all around the hem on the lower part of this, of the me'il. Upamaini zahab, and there also be gold bells, b'seichem saviv, amongst them, and we'll see what does it mean amongst them? That's a funny term. Amongst what? Saviv all around. Rashi will tell us. Okay, 33. Rimoine. Agulim chalulim hayu can mean rimoinim. They were round and hollow, in the shape of a pomegranate. Asuya kebeitzas tarnagoyalais. They were made like hen's eggs. Okay, in other words, that they're egg shaped. Pamayne zahav, golden bells. Zagim im in bolim shebeseicham. They were bells with clappers inside of them, right, to make noise. Right, B'seicham savim. Now, what does it mean? Amongst them, all around. B'neihem saviv, between them, all around. Bein shnei rimonim pa'amoin echad. Between each of the two pomegranates, there was one bell, dabak v'salui, which was attached in a hanging b'shuli amil, the lower edge of the me'il. Okay, got it. Continues in 34. Pa'amoin zahav, a golden bell, rimoim. And then a pomegranate, pamoin zav, a golden bell, berimain, and a pomegranate, al shuli amil saviv, all around the lower hem of the robe. Anybody got a problem with this verse?
Maybe Rashi.
Huh?
Maybe Rashi has problem.
Well, what's the problem that you have? It seems to be repetitive. No? Rashi just explained in the previous one that it was 1, 1, 1, 1. And now the verse is saying it's 1, 1, 1, 1. Right? So why first of all, why Rashi explained it over there if we don't understand it over there, but it seems like Rashi understood it over there. Well, that means it's 1, 1. So then that means it's 1, 1, 1, 1.
2, 1, 2, 1. Oh, okay.
Or maybe
clear.
Well, the way Rashi explained it seemed to be clear. Pamoin zav rimain, pamoin zav rimain, etzloi next to it. So what's going on over here? I don't know. We need the Rebbe Sicha. I'm assuming that there is, but I'm not certain. We'll see if we have time. Hold on to all the questions. Truth is, I should write down the questions.
Remember the Rebbe asked to send me the Rashi questions.
Yes.
Somebody needs one dinner. Tell you how many I sent him.
Huh?
I can tell you how many I sent him. 9. How many did you send him?
Yeah. So you know what, Taka, I send it into the oil, and send in. We have to see if there's a sicha on it first before sending it in, right? That's what we first do.
Are you going to send him? I have another question. How the same question did not arise in my mind.
Okay, let's see, and then maybe we'll get a chance. Let's truck a little here, and maybe we'll be able to. Okay, 35. Bahaya al arain lishares, and it should be upon arain.
Is there actually a Rashi cross reference like that?
I have a book that has a bunch of the Rashi sichas, not all the sichas.
Is there a Rashi cross reference? Is there like, say, okay, this pasuk has this sikha.
I think there is such a thing. You know what?
If there is such a thing, then maybe we should have it. So
right.
When we have a question, we could say, okay, the Rebbe dealt with that.
Right.
How do you find it? You say you're going to find the Rashi sikha, but how do you find it? There's so many.
So I don't know. You know what?
Go to this parsha.
There is. I might even have it in my house. I have to take a look. I might even have it in my house. Okay, remind me. Okay, so it should be upon Aaron Lisharis in order for him to serve. Benishma kailai, and it will be heard its voice, meaning its sound. But Vayel HaKadosh, when he enters into the holy, Lifnei Hashem, before God, Ubetzeso, and when he leaves, V'lo yamus, and he won't die. Which means, what does that mean? If he doesn't have it, he does die. Right? No, that's not what it said. It had to be heard. 35, V'lo yamus, and he will not die. Miklal lavat Hashemei hein. So Rashi says, from the implication of the negative, you infer the positive. If he will have this garment, then he won't be subject to death penalty. Death penalty means the hands of heaven, by the way, not by the court. Hi, imi kanes b'chusar echamim begadim halalu. Oh, interesting what Rashi says. If he will enter the Mishkan in the base of Mikdash to perform the service, lacking one of these garments, chayiv mitzvah b'dei shemayim, he is subject to death by the hands of heaven. You have a problem here in Rashi? I have a problem.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Then why don't the other garments have some sort of bells and whistles as well? Why only?
No, that's for me the problem. Problem for me is this verse says that he won't die if he wears this. Where does Rashi get to say that it's all the clothing? Maybe it's only this one. No, but it says if you won't die if you're wearing this. It didn't say though. It didn't say these. And the voice and the sound will be heard. That's only the me'il that makes a sound, right? So if he goes with this, he won't die. How do you get from there that the other things? What if he's missing one of the others? So then how do you get that from the inference from this verse? So I'm writing it down now. I got to write it down every day, our questions, okay? Remind me. Okay, so at least, whatever. Okay, Vasisa tzitz zahab. Now we're going to another garment. The tzitz is the plate on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol. Tzitz, and you should make the tzitz zahab, the forehead plate of gold, tahar, that is pure. Bitachta olav, and you should emboss upon it. You should write upon it, engrave upon it. Pituche chaysem, a engraving.
Not engraving, embossing, that's the opposite of engraving. It comes outward, not inward.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. 'Cause I always thought it was engraved.
Embossed.
Huh?
It says embossed.
Yeah, it says embossed. Embossed means you would do it on the back side so it protrudes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is raised on the
What do you mean on the back side? No, but you have to hammer it on the back side, so it raised in the front. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay, I see.
You know what? Okay, it makes sense because charetz means engraved, and it doesn't use the word charetz over here. It's petachta. It comes from a pesach, to open. Open meaning it's raised. Right. Embossed. Allah v'tichesem. Right. And embossing. Kodesh Hashem, that Kodesh Hashem, that holy to God. Rashi 36. Tzitz. Kamin tas shel zahav haya. This was like a golden plate. Rechav shteit etzbois. It's 2 finger breadths wide. Makiv ala metav me'ezen le'ezen. It's extended around the forehead from ear to ear. How did Rashi get that from the verse? I don't know. I don't know. Huh?
Yeah, move it tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's Pshuta Shemikra. It's fine, not a problem, but it's Pshuta Shemikra, not a simple meaning of the text. Like Basi El Lefanish Pshuta Shemikra. Not here, he's not teaching us Talmud here. All right, 37. The Samta, he's saying, should place it al psil tchelis with a turquoise wool string cord. Lahaya ala mitznefis, and it will be on the mitznefis is the turban, the hat that he wore, right? El mul pnei mitznefis, and to be placed in below, in front of the turban. Here's a picture. So there's strings on the right and the left and the center. And that the center ones goes over the top, over the back, right? Which we did not explain yet. This. Um, but Rashi is going to explain it. Let's go. Okay, psil tcheles. So the cord of the turquoise wool. Elsewhere it says, where's elsewhere? It's going to be in chapter 39, 31, meaning in Parshas Pekudei. It's going to repeat over there, and there it's V'itnu ala psil tcheles. It says there that you put the string, put upon it the string of the turquoise wool. V'it kan, and furthermore, it's written over here v'haya ala mitznefes, that it should be on the mitznefes. But below in the next verse it says v'haya al metzach Aaron, that should be on the forehead of Aaron. So is it on the hat? Or is it on the right? What on the forehead? So right, it seems to be contradictory. So he's bringing from different, and furthermore, it says that the strings should be upon it, meaning upon the hat. So in the Talmud, it explains the Kohen Gadol's hair was visible between the tzitz and his hat. Mitznefes. Sheshamaniach tefillin, that's where he put on tefillin. So the hat was like this, was here. Tefillin was here, and the mitznefes was here, right? That's how he's explaining it, right? Huh?
It's almost like a kippah. So you
Yeah.
have space between the forehead and the.
Yeah, exactly. So from this we understand that mitznefes is above, the goyvel hareish on the top of the head, right? The ena amuka likanas ba al reish adametzach, and it's not deep enough to enter the forehead and to go like not like this, right? It wasn't like this, because then there's no place for the tefillin over here, right? It's like this. So you have the tefillin over here, and then the rachura. Now the question is, but elsewhere it says, right? The next verse it says it was on his forehead, but later on it says that it's on the hat, right? So what Rashi is going to explain is the strings go over the hat, and therefore that part is on the hat. Okay. Tzitz milamata, and the tzitz was below the mitznefis. So we have contradiction. So how to resolve this follows. The strings were inserted in the holes of the tzitz that hung from it on two ends and its center, right? As I showed you in the picture, right? Shisha b'shloishem mekaymis halalu. So there's 6 strings at 3 different places, right?
There's 2 at 3 different places. 2, 4, 6.
2, 4, 6, exactly. Psil milamaila echami b'chutz. So in these 3 places, so there's one string that was above the tzitz on the outer surface, ve'echami pnim keneged, and one was on the other side, the opposite it. Right, and he would tie the ends of the strings at the back of the neck. That the 3 pairs of the would end in the back of the neck. So what happened was the length of the plate and the strings at its ends encompass the entire skull between them. Right, and the middle strings. Right, in the middle of the plate, at its upper edge, is tied at the ends of the other 2 strings. So how did that happen? Because it went on the width of the head over top, right? So the string from here went this way on top, and these went over here and over here, and they tied it right over on top of the mitznefis.
It wouldn't fall down.
So it wouldn't fall down. Yeah. Nimta so you can mean kaiva. So the tzitz now with its strings is like a hat, right? It's not really like the strings can't take the shape of the hat, because if you just had strings, it would just fall, right? But it's going over the hat, so it's now shaped like the hat, being encompassing the hat, exactly. And concerning the middle string, it says, right? Now, remember, we said a verse that seemed to be contradictory. Next verse says it was on his forehead. But then later on in Pakude, it says that it's on his hat. The strings were on the hat, not the metal plate. Yeah. Okay. Continuing. Yeah. So he put the tzitz on his head like a kind of hat over the mitznefis. And the middle string that would hold it, that it wouldn't fall, right? Because the strings on the end, they wouldn't, hold it from not falling downwards, right? And the plate hung opposite his forehead.
Very, very difficult to understand. The middle string then went over the tefillin, or
On the sides of the tefillin, over the sides. Here, look, like this, right? Tefillin is here.
Yeah.
The string is here. One string this side, one string this side. Came across over here on top and tied over in the back over here. So this is what held it from not falling downwards, right? But the whole shape of the strings now, those two strings have a shape of a hat, have a shape of a hat. So that's what it means, that it's, when it says later on that it's on the mitznefis, it means the strings are on the mitznefis, not the plate is on the mitznefis, on the hat, right?
all of the images show it differently. Like I looked up images, all the images show it's on the
I have a seat pattern. The
clearly that's not according to Rashi.
Yeah, maybe others learn differently. I don't know.
I have a seat pattern. The master is applied exactly that way. It's
Right.
This and this with the master will fall down.
Right. And it's kind of
There's nothing over here that you would understand it from the Mikra that way, right? Only from Rashi.
here's look, here's the hat of the Kohen Gadol, and you see the two strings over here going on top.
But I'm saying nothing in the Mikra itself would indicate that it's not on the turban.
Well, no, Rashi says we had contradictions.
Only Rashi's bringing.
Rashi's saying there's contradictions, and he's explaining what the contradictions are. So it is from the verses, according to the way Rashi's learning it. Contradiction is, next verse says it's on his forehead, the tzitz, and later on it says that it's on the hat. So is it on the hat or is it on the forehead? Huh? No, it's later on. It didn't say, no. Well, yeah, I mean, it says psil tchelis ala mitznefis. No, there it says the strings are on the mitznefis. Okay, Vahaya. So you put the tis on the head. Yeah, we just said. This way, all the verses now make sense. Okay, 38. And it will be al metzach Aaron, that it will be on the forehead of Aaron. And also Aaron, and Aaron will carry. Also means to hold up, carry, raise up, right? It's in the sins, hakadashim of the holies, of the sacred offerings, Israel, that the Jewish people will consecrate. The whole matnas kacheim, for all the gifts that they're giving that are holy gifts. V'haya, and it will be al mitzvah, and it will be on his forehead, tummy, constantly, l'ratzain, to be for God's favor, lifnei Hashem, lahem, for them, meaning the Jewish people, lifnei Hashem. This is very interesting stuff over here. Let's see, Rashi. A lot of like very nuanced stuff. And also Aaron, and Aaron shall bear. Lashon slicha. Interesting. Right? It's an expression of forgiveness. How do we see that? Noisei oven, right? Noisei oven, right? We say that every day. Right? That he bears the sin. Nonetheless, you can't depart from the simple meaning, which means to bear. Aaron is a mase shelamid, meaning Aaron literally is bearing the burden of the sin. Nimsa mesulaka oven mina kochim. So therefore, we see that the sin is removed from that which is holy. What does that mean? So it is Aaron that will remove the sin from the holy.
From what's being offered.
Aha. In other words, by him doing this, he's literally bearing it. By the way, from this we see interesting. The story with. I think with the Mittler Rebbe about a chassid that whenever he did some kind of sin, and the Mittler Rebbe showed him his hand, and there was some kind of, I don't know, was a deformity or some kind of something about the hand. And says, your sin, this is what happened to my hand. That's the Rebbe, right? So everything touches him.
He bears it.
He bears it. This is the idea over here that Aaron bears the sin.
He removes it before it's offered,
So
or think that it's done while it's offered.
he's removing the sin because he bears it. So he's removing the sin. As Oven HaKodshim, the sin that which is holy. L'ratus is adam v'zachilav shekarvu b'tuma. So what does this mean? The tzitz here is to appease God, because it says l'ratzay. That means appeasement of God. What are you appeasing God over here? The blood and the fats that were on the altar for the offering, that when they were brought in a state of impurity. So him wearing the tzitz will bring an appeasement. To Moshe Shanino, as we learn, Eza Avan Hunaise, which is the sin that the tzitz bears, Avan Pigul. If it's a sin of Pigul, Pigul means that you had the wrong thought, the Kohen had the wrong thought of eating this korban at the wrong time, right? Like a korban chatas can be eaten for the day and for the next day, and he thought about eating it 3 days from now, for example, right? That's called Pigul. If you thought it was a darek kvar nemar la yiratze, if that, it can't be that, because that it says it won't be accepted. Because remember, our verse says accepted. L'ratze means it's accepted, right? If it's a sin of noisar, which means leaving over some of the meat, right, and it didn't all get burnt on the altar. There, concerning that, it says that it will not be counted. Right? And it can't be that the tzitz is going to atone for the kohen who brings an offering when he's tameh, because the sin of the holy has been stated in our verse, and not that of those who offer the sin.
Not about the person, it's about the object.
Right. It's about the object, not the person. Right? So that so therefore we have to conclude that the only appeasement that God has as violating the offering in a state of impurity is in a state of impurity. Meaning that the offering is accepted. That's the point over here is the offering is accepted. We're not talking about the person here. Because that we already learned. The offering is accepted. Oh, let me know that I didn't. Okay. Next, v'haya mitzvah, and it will be on his forehead. Tummy, continuously. So this added something over here because we already said it should be on his forehead. Now it added that it needs to be constant, right? You can't say that it's always on his forehead because he only wears it when he in time of the service. Rather, always to appease on their behalf. Wow. Even when it's not on his head, when he's not wearing it, the Kohen Gadol, it will still make those offerings that were done in purity, that they will be acceptable. Even when the Kohen Gadol was not performing at that time, well, it will still be atoned for.
In the mind of the phone.
Yeah, now that's one opinion. There's another opinion that says that the tzitz is only tones and appeases when it's on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol. If not, it doesn't appease. So then, what does this mean over here? It's on the forehead always. Is to be understood as follows: teaches us that he shall touch it while it is on his forehead. That he should not remove consciousness from it. Like we say, we touch our tefillin. Why do we do that? What do you touch your tefillin for? Because you should not be Masiach Das, lose for a moment awareness that you're wearing tefillin. So at different times we touch our tefillin that we shouldn't. Where does that come from? From this idea over here that the Kohen Gadol would touch the tzitz, that he should not lose awareness that he is wearing it. That's what it means. That it will be constantly, meaning constantly, the Kohen Gadol has to touch it to remain consciously aware that he's wearing it. And why is that important? No. The other things you don't have to, you have to touch your breastplate. No. How come? Because it's bringing atonement just by the fact he wears it, he needs awareness. If he doesn't have awareness, huh?
Unlike anything else, that's where it's boss.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is the awareness is because there's something unique happening with it, that it's bringing atonement just by the fact of wearing it. So he needs the awareness that he is wearing it. Otherwise, that's why he won't bring the atonement if he doesn't have the awareness. That's why he has to constantly touch it.
Why he wouldn't touch something else? Because this is Kodesh Hashem. That's the awareness that he needs. That's the awareness. That's why touching something else wouldn't count. Touching this.
Not the only word.
39.
That's what you told me clearly, because don't take where the atonement is. The atonement isn't here or here, it's here. Because then he has to touch that where he is. Not that a breastplate doesn't atone, nothing else.
Oh boy, let's go. We've got a truck, folks. I didn't realize the time. So you make a linen tunic. Chassidus is a tunic that it's checkered, knit, and you make a linen turban that is embroidered sash. So you make a pattern with many recesses on the tunic, and they must be entirely out of linen. For the now, so we finished with the Kohen Gadol. Now for the children of Aaron, his sons rather, right? Tasik Sainis, you have to make a tunic, and you should make a sash, right? That's the gartel, a mikbois, and a hat. By the Kohen Gadol, it's called a mitznefis. By the Kohen, it's called a mikbois. And you do it for dignity and for splendor. Rashi, Livnei Aaron Taseh, for the sons of Aaron you shall make 4 garments and not more. Xenis, you make a xenis, which is a robe. Avnate, which is the belt, the gartel. Mikbois is the hat. Mehi mitznefis, which is replacing the mitznefis by the Kohen Gadol. Omichnasayim ksuvim lamata beparsha, and the pants are called michnasayim. They're written later on below in verse 42. We'll see in a moment. V'yalbashta oisam, and you must dress them as Aaron achicha, Aaron, your brother, Bezmanav, and his sons, Itoy, together with him. In other words, Aaron is also wearing these four, but Aaron has four other things on top of it as being the high priest. Meshafta Isam Umaletza, and you have to anoint them and inaugurate them. It's Yadam. Through them, they become holy, and they will serve me as kohanim, as priests. Rashi ve'yabashta Oisam es Aaron, and you shall dress Aaron Oisam ha'amorim ba'Aaron. This is referring to the garments of Aaron Choshen, ve'ephod, or me'il, Kseinis Tashbitz, and the Kseinis in the settings, the mitznefis, and the mitznefis, the avnei and the belt, tzitz and the tzitz, omechnasayim, and the pants. Haksub milamata bekulam. V'asher v'onav Itai, his sons are with him. Oisam aksuvim by him. The dress with those garments that are written with regard to them. In other words, they both wear it. Meshachto is something you have to anoint it. In Aaron v'ezbanav shemen Mashiach, es Aaron v'chon Mashiach, by anointing oil. Omalesa yadam, and you should fill their hand. Kol mili yadayim l'asher chinuch. The filling of the hands is an expression of an inauguration. Right, it means like completion. When he enters in this matter to be acknowledged as holding it from this day on, milui, that means the filling of the hands of Lashon Laz, and in Old French, when a person is appointed to be in charge of something, the ruler makes an appointment, puts on the hand of the being appointed a leather glove. Excuse me. And the old French is gone. And through this procedure, the ruler established him as in a new position. And it's called a transfer of the glove. And this is what it means, filling of the hands. Quickly. And you should make for them pants, trousers, in order to cover the nakedness of the body, from the waist to the thighs. They're three quarters. To both Aaron and his sons, linen trousers, the Kohen Gadol, 8 garments for the high priest, and for a regular Kohen is 4. Right, it comes out. 43, and they will be for Aaron and his sons when they come into the tent of meeting, or when they come approach the altar, which is outside of the Oyel Moed, right? The Sharet Kodesh, to serve in the holy, and they will not bear sin, and when they wear this, and die as a result by the hands of heaven. Here we see that it is all the garments. That's where I guess Rashi gets it earlier. We had the question earlier, where did Rashi get that, right? It's here. Why Rashi doesn't say it here, rather he says it earlier, that still remains a question. Right? This is a statutory law forever for him, and for his offspring after him. Right? Rashi, we conclude, and they should be upon Aaron and his sons. All of these garments, that befit him, which mentioned for him, with them, when they go into the tent of meeting, into the base of Migdash, meaning into the sanctuary, right? Likewise into the Mishkan. Die. Here we learn that if someone, one of the Kohen is missing any of the garments, he's subject to death. So you see, Rashi repeats it over here,
Heavenly
right?
death.
Another question. Yeah, heavenly death. Yeah. Chukas Olam, eternal statute for him. Kol Malkum Shenem Chukas Olam. Wherever it says eternal statute, Ugzeres Miyad Uladeiros, it means it's immediately a decree, and for future generation, La'akeh Boy, to disqualify through any service performed that is not that it is not fulfilled. In other words, if you did the service, the point in this is if you did the service without those garments, it's not only that you will get bisa b'dei shamayim, right, death by the hands of heaven, but what you did is invalid.